Welcome to question number 12 of the Summa Theologia. I'm Dave Palmer, and I want to encourage you, watch this video because this is definitely an extremely important question in the Summa Theologia. Okay, St. Thomas Aquinas started off the Summa, question number 1, about sacred doctrine. Okay, our end is beyond us. Okay, we have a natural ability to know things, and then there's a supernatural realm beyond, and we're drawn to the supernatural realm, and God is trying to help us get there through his grace and through sacred doctrine. And then the last 10 articles, we've been talking about the 7 attributes of God, right? What is God? He's simple and perfect and good and infinite and eternal and one, right? Immutable. I think I got all 7 of them. Okay, and now all of a sudden in question number 12, it's how God is known by us. Okay, so this, if you've watched the other videos, you know that the chasm between us and God is so great. God is infinite and eternal and immutable and perfect and simple, and we're not any of those things. And so how can we even possibly come to know him? Well, the truth is, the knowledge that we can have of God is very intimate, and it is awesome. And in Article 5 of this question, if nothing else, stay till Article 5, he is going to give away the ending, right? He gives away this whole Summa is leading us to our final end, to beatitude, to union with God, and he describes it in Article 5 of this question, I promise you, okay? But it's all important, and so we're going to be talking about the role of grace and how God pours down his grace in order that we can know him. All right, so there are 13 articles. It's going to be kind of long, but hey, let's get right to it. And again, I think you're going to definitely enjoy this, especially if you've watched the previous 11 videos. I hope you have. If you have not, well, either watch this one and go back and watch them, or press pause, go back and watch those, and come back in a couple of days after you've done that, because it really is, this is a culmination of these first 11 questions that we've already covered. Okay, Article 1 of question number 12, whether any created intellect can see the essence of God. So this is saying, okay, the created intellect would be us or angels. Those are the only 2 types of creatures that have intellects, right? And he's saying, is it even possible for God to be known, right? I mentioned at the end of the last video about a professor when I was in college, and he made a big impression on me because he asked the class, well, why would our knowledge of God be in the treatise on God? Shouldn't that be in the treatise on human nature? And what he said was, and it really left an impression on me, is he said, no, God being able to be known says something about him. Now, more than it says something about us. Now, he allows us to know him, but it means he's knowable, right? In fact, look at what he says here. I'm going to read from this corpus here. Since everything is knowable according as it is actual, God, who is pure act without any admixture of potentiality, is in himself supremely knowable. Think about something that doesn't yet exist. It exists potentially, but it doesn't exist. Well, it can't be known because it doesn't exist yet, right? It's not actual. It hasn't been actualized. God is pure act of being, as I've said many times. Therefore, he is supremely knowable. He is more knowable than this piece of paper that I'm holding, right, which seems pretty simple to be knowable, right? God is supremely knowable. But, Thomas continues, what is supremely knowable in itself may not be knowable to a particular intellect on account of the excess of intelligible object above the intellect, all right? So God is so far above us that what he's saying here is, yeah, God's supremely knowable, but it may not be in our natural intellect to be able to know him. We're going to need some assistance, right? Now, this is one of the most beautiful couple of sentences in the entire Summa, and it means so much. For the ultimate beatitude of man consists in the use of his highest function, which is the operation of his intellect. Okay, that's very important. If we suppose that the created intellect could never see God, it would either never attain to beatitude, or its beatitude would consist in something else besides God, which is opposed to faith. For there resides in every man and woman a natural desire to know the cause of any effect which he sees, and thence arises wonder in men. But if the intellect of the rational creature could not reach so far as to the first cause of things, the natural desire would remain void. I love this, and I know this didn't pop up on the screen, and maybe you're hearing this for the first time, but he's saying we naturally desire to know the cause of all the things we see in the world. Okay, we have the dogs and cats and butterflies and squirrels don't have this natural desire to, what's the cause of this? This should be in us. And what Thomas is saying here is that if there was not a cause of this natural desire that's creating wonder in us, then it's all pointless. It actually would be a kind of a cruel trick that why would we have this wonder and this awe and this desire to know the cause if there wasn't a cause? Okay, and that goes back to the second proof for the existence of God. Oh, I'd like to spend more time on that, but I got to move on. All right, so article number 2, whether the essence of God is seen by the created intellect through an image. Okay, so here's an image of a family. I don't know this family, but they have names, of course. So we're seeing an image of them. We're not seeing them, but we're seeing something that resembles them, looks like them, right? And he's saying here, can God be seen through an image, right? And ultimately, the answer is no, okay? But it gets a little deeper than that, as you might expect. Okay, therefore, it must be said that to see the essence of God, and by the way, when he says seeing the essence of God, it's an intellectual sight. Okay, it's not seeing God, physically, right? There is required some similitude. Now, I want to pause on that. A similitude is similar to a likeness. Okay, but it can be an intellectual similitude just as well as it can be a visual similitude. It's kind of a tricky word, but that's going to come back, okay, that word. There is required some similitude in the visual faculty, namely the light of glory, strengthening the intellect to see God. To see God intellectually, he's talking about, all right? The essence of God, however, cannot be seen by any created similitude representing the divine essence itself as it really is, all right? So this picture is a created similitude of this family, right? So we can see a statue. You don't really see statues of God so much. You see the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, but right now we're talking about the Trinity, which is made up, of course, of those three persons, but those are images, but that's not really giving us the knowledge of God like he's talking about here, right? That's not going to be enough. Believe me, just seeing a statue of a dove or of an old man, or however God is depicted, right? That's not going to cut it, right? Okay, article number 3. This is one of the easiest ones that I'm going to cover. Whether the essence of God can be seen with the bodily eye. Okay, it is impossible for God to be seen by the sense of sight or by any other sense or faculty of the sensitive power. Okay, the senses, sight and smell and taste. For every such kind of power is the act of a corporeal organ, hence no power of that kind can go beyond corporeal things. Okay, that's simple. That's an easy one. Number 4, whether any created intellect by its natural powers can see the divine essence. Now, he's already said the divine essence can be seen intellectually, right? In fact, it's most able to be seen because it's pure act, right? So he can be seen, but now he's saying, okay, how about by our natural powers of our reason, of that kind of thing? He says it is impossible for any created intellect to see the essence of God by its own natural power. For knowledge is regulated according as the thing is known in the knower. But the thing known is in the knower according to the mode of the knower. We're the knower, by the way. Hence, the knowledge of every knower is ruled according to its own nature. Okay, our nature doesn't allow us through our basic nature to see the essence of God. If, therefore, the mode of anything's being exceeds the mode of the knower, it must result that the knowledge of the object is above the object of the knower. Okay, so we cannot, by our own natural powers, come to know God. Now, I debated whether I was going to share this next section with you because this really has a lot to do with human nature, and there's going to be a whole treatise on human nature coming up down the road. But I want to share this with you. I know this is going to make the video a little bit longer, but it's so very important because this is about how we come to know things in the natural world, right? So bear with me here. This has to do with human epistemology. All right, human epistemology has to say, like, what can we know? What are we able to know? Our soul possesses two cognitive powers. One is the act of a corporeal organ, which naturally knows things existing in individual matter. Hence, sense knows only the singular, okay? My eyes see this highlighter. It's a singular, remember, a suppositum, one highlighter, right? But there is another kind of cognitive power in the soul called the intellect. And this is not the act of a corporeal organ. Okay, our intellect is not, it works with the brain, but it's beyond the brain. Okay, it's not lodged in a corporeal organ like our eye is. Okay, wherefore the intellect naturally knows natures which exist only in individual matter, not as they are in such individual matter, but according as they are abstracted therefrom by the considering act of the intellect. Hence it follows that through the intellect we can understand these objects as universal, and this is beyond the power of the sense. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of this because we're going to cover this a whole lot with human nature, but we're able to abstract the universal out of something like this. Remember, this is the nature of highlighterness, right? That's the essence. We can abstract that intellectually, but our eyes only see the one physical, tangible object, okay? There's a lot more to say about that, but let's move on for the sake of time. Article 5. Now, remember I highlighted that Article 5 kind of gives away the ending of the Summa, and so this is such an awesome article, and it's so encouraging for those of us who have hope and desire for heavenly glory, for beatitude, whether the created intellect needs any created light in order to see the essence of God. Do we need help? Okay, how are we going to get there if we do not have the capability of knowing God through our natural reason? Everything which is raised up to what exceeds its nature must be prepared by some disposition above its nature. But when any created intellect sees the essence of God, the essence of God itself becomes the intelligible form of the intellect. Hence it is necessary that some supernatural disposition should be added to the intellect in order that it may be raised up to such a great and sublime height. Remember matter and form, okay? He's giving it away right now. This is beatitude. This is heaven. This is union with God. Everything that we're going to be working on towards in the Summa leads up to this. And he's given it away here in question 12, Article 5. In heaven, the divine essence will be the form, and our intellect will be as the matter. And now I know you're thinking like, hey, the matter, that's supposed to be something physical. Okay, well, stay tuned to that. Now, this increase of the intellectual powers is called the illumination of the intellect. Okay, this is good stuff. All right, article number 6. Whether of those who see the essence of God, one sees more perfectly than another. This is talking about heavenly glory. Article 5 told us what heaven is like, how we're united to God. Of those who see the essence of God, one sees him more perfectly than another. Okay, not everybody's experience of heaven is going to be exactly the same. In my Father's house, there are many, many rooms. Remember where Thomas talks about, where Jesus talks about this. But it will take place because one intellect will have a greater power or faculty to see God than another. The faculty of seeing God, however, does not belong to the created intellect naturally, but given to it by the light of glory, which establishes the intellect in a kind of deiformity, to be like God, as appears from what is said above in the preceding articles. Okay, our intellect becomes like God. Why? Because the essence of God unites to our intellect, right? Hence, the intellect which has more the light of glory will see God the more perfectly, and he will have a fuller participation of the light of glory who has more charity. Because where there is the greater charity, there is the more desire, and desire in a certain degree makes the one desiring apt and prepared to receive the object desired. Okay, we'll just let that sink in. Okay, I'm just going to stop there for a second. But in heaven, we will not all have the same experience. Article 7. Whether those who see him see the essence of God, comprehend him. I'm going to say this real quickly. All right, we can't comprehend God, because to comprehend something is to know it entirely. And we cannot know God entirely, because if we did, we would be God. God is universal being, and so we cannot comprehend him. I put this picture of the dog, looking at the computer screen, because the dog can't comprehend this. This is beyond the capability of the dog. That's why the owner is laughing at the dog, right? Because he can't see it. All right, so article number 8, whether those who see the essence of God see all in God. And again, this is going to be kind of repeating from the last article. The created intellect, in seeing the divine essence, does not see in it all that God does and is. No created intellect can comprehend God wholly. Therefore, no created intellect, in seeing God, can know all that God does or can do, for this would be to comprehend him. So this is kind of repeating a little bit, okay? Okay, Article 9, very, very important here, because, again, this is going on further, talking about what's it going to be like to really be united to God in heaven. Whether what is seen in God by those who see the divine essence, okay, this is heaven, is seen through any similitude. Why do I have a chicken on here? Because when I went into my program to look for a picture of a similitude, for some reason, a bunch of pictures of chickens showed up, and I don't know why. This is a similitude of a chicken, okay? This is not an actual chicken. This is a picture of a chicken, right? But what Thomas is going to say here is the similitude that's going to allow us to know all things in heaven is going to come directly from God and not through some created similitude, all right? Those who see the divine essence see what they see in God, not by any likeness, but by the divine essence itself united to their intellect. Okay, he's repeating what he said in Article 5. For each thing is known insofar as its likeness is in the one who knows. Hence, to know things thus by their likeness in the one who knows is to know them in themselves or in their own natures. Again, this goes back to the two types of cognition: sensible knowledge of particulars, and then intellectual knowledge of abstraction of forms. Okay, don't be discouraged if this is challenging. We're going to go through all this again in human nature. This is just about us coming to know God. Okay. Whereas to know them by their similitudes pre-existing in God is to see them in God, according to the knowledge whereby things are known by those who see the essence of God. They are seen in God himself, not by any other similitudes, but by the divine essence alone, present to the intellect, by which also God himself is seen. So God is going to imprint on our intellect, right, the similitude of all things. We will know as much as we are capable of knowing, but this will be what it's like in heaven. All right. Article 10, whether those who see the essence of God see all they see at the same time. And he says, what is seen in the Word is seen not successively, but at the same time. Okay, this is a little taste of eternity, of infinity, right? We are going to become, we are made to the image and likeness of God, but our minds are going to change. They're going to be different. But our intellect cannot be actually informed by many diverse ideas at the same time, so as to understand by them as one body cannot bear different shapes simultaneously. Right now, our mind learns discursively. We learn one thing, and then we learn the next, and we make connections. We're the only creatures that do that. Angels don't do that. God isn't a creature, but he doesn't do that. Brute animals don't have intellects. They can't do that at all. Okay, so we see things all at the same time. Isn't that exciting? Okay, so now we're down to our last three articles of this question. Whether anyone in this life can see the essence of God? Short answer, no. Okay, God cannot be seen by his essence by a mere human being, except he be separated from this mortal life. Our soul, as long as we live in this life, has its being in corporeal matter. Hence, naturally, it knows only what it has the form and matter. Okay, we know through our senses. We are, and that's why St. Thomas Aquinas is called a soft empiricist. Okay, he believes we come to know things through our senses, working with our intellect, right? Whether God can be known in this life by natural reason. I think you know the answer to this. No. Okay, let's just move on to the last article. Whether by grace a higher knowledge of God can be obtained than by natural reason. In this article, I think he's talking about in this life, can God shower grace upon us so that we can know more than we would naturally know? Okay, it doesn't mean it's the complete divine essence that we know, but can we know a little bit more? And he's going to say, yes, we have a more perfect knowledge of God by grace than by natural reason. The knowledge which we have by natural reason contains two things: images derived from the sensible objects, and the natural intelligible light enabling us to abstract from them intelligible conceptions. All right, so that's what we went over earlier, the two ways that we come to know things. And again, don't be concerned if this is too confusing. This is a lot of information, but this is all in the same question. Okay, it's a lot. Okay, but just be easy on yourself. Okay, I've taught this for 11 years. I've read these questions many times. You might be hearing this for the first time, so don't stress out if it's too much. We're gonna keep coming back to this many times. Okay, last paragraph here, and then we're done. Now, in both of these, human knowledge is assisted by the revelation of grace. For the intellect's natural light is strengthened by the infusion of gratuitous light, and sometimes also the images in the human imagination are divinely formed so as to express divine things better than those do which receive from sensible objects, as appears in prophetic visions, while sometimes sensible things or even voices are divinely formed to express some divine meaning. Okay, he's making a difference here. He's saying even the light of human reason, even our sensible knowledge, so to speak, can be assisted by divine assistance, where we can have these kind of supernatural flickers of, inspiration or prophetic visions, as we know is the case, but only through divine grace. But that's not the same as beatitude. Beatitude happens only in heaven. We can't experience it here. And even St. Thomas Aquinas himself had an ecstatic vision at the end, towards the end of his life, and that's why he stopped writing the Summa. Okay? All right. Okay, if you're still watching, I hope you are. Though, well, of course, if you hear me, you're still watching. How was that okay? Did you understand it? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much did that make sense? Leave it in the comments. Okay, I expect to see some people leaving. Then I'll know you stayed till the end, right? Thank you if you did. Hang in there. This is only going to get better. It's going to continue to build and build, and I promise you it's going to be gratifying. And if it helps you understand God more, if it helps you to pray more, to seek him more, to love him more, to desire him more, then the Summa is doing its job, and by extension, I'm doing my job as a teacher. And so God bless you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, where we look into the names of God. St. Thomas Aquinas, pray for us.